Hi guys. So today I wanted to speak about the transits and explain what that is. So when we're new to human design or the gene keys or the I Ching, and we hear about the transits and the current transits and what is it? And I wanted to just explain a bit about it and show how it works. And also I'm doing this weekly geometry where there are 3 gene keys that are intertwined, which is basically what comes from the I Ching, because there are 8 elements, and each trigram has an element. So when we put 2 trigrams in on top of each other to get a hexagram, we will have 2 elements that create that. So that's why there are 3 that are intertwined most weeks. And sometimes when there's the same element twice, then there is of course not that braid, not that threading. So I actually feel like I'm gonna go and just show you how we create the wheel, and to see how we move through the wheel, because it's not that complicated actually. So let's see. So I'm going to use myself as example. No, it's not to look at me this time. It's not to look at the body graph, but it's really to look at the construction of how the mandala is made up. So if you, I do recommend my body graph as a website, because there's a lot of free stuff. You can do a lot of things on it and save people even if you don't have the paid version, and also to kind of show you how to play with it. So when you have made a chart, you will have this, you will have the toolbar here, and you will have view. So here you can choose what you want to see, the standard view that we have right now, or the RAVE mandala. And you can also show if you want to have just the conscious side and conscious, if you want to have just the incarnation cross. So here we go on, and we're going to choose RAVE mandala. Maybe we can even take away this to get it a bit bigger. So here, this is what we use when we look at the transits. And it's the same as, so when I speak about the transits, I say, where are all the planets right now? So this is the chart right now. This is the transits right now. So 17 is the sun. So how would that look in this mandala? So we have 17 is here. So this is where we are right now. And if we would have, I could have made it right now. I didn't do that. I could have just created a chart for it right now. Actually, let's see if I can do that. It's even more interesting. Transit, do we have that? No, it's not here. Okay, so we don't have that. What I want to show is that the way that this is built up is that we have the wheel that many of us know, because I think most of us have seen an astrology chart, right? So this is the same wheel. This is actually how the sun and the earth, like that year that it takes for the earth to go around the sun. And we start the astrological year on March 20th. So you can see here Aries, and it starts with Aries, and this is the sign of Aries. So just a couple of days ago, we started here in Gene Key 25, and now today we went into Gene Key 17. And how do we know when we change? It's pretty easy. So we know that it takes 365 days for the earth to go around the sun. So if we have 64 hexagrams, we just have to divide those 365 days in the gene in 64, and then we know how many days we are in each hexagram, or how many days we're in each gene key. So that becomes 5.7 days when we do that division. And then as astrology, the same thing, because it's like, why do we go counterclockwise? Well, that's what we do that's how the planets move, and that's what we do in astrology as well. So we start with Aries, then we go to Taurus, then we go to Gemini, Cancer. So it's exactly the same thing. It really follows the astrology. And even, when we go to the living library, we can see that. So when we look at, is this the 17th that we are in right now, we can scroll down and we have the astrology, because it's the same thing. right? So we can see here is the wheel I just showed you, and we are in Aries, and we can see it. We even see the frequency band, which is really cool. The same thing as each gene key has a frequency band. Each astrological sign has it. So Aries is from selfishness to independence to purpose. It's really that first, you know, it's kind of when we are born, when we only see ourselves before there is even a connection to the other. So then, of course, selfishness is how we could name that shadow frequency. And independent is like, you know, I'm born to be a star of it. I'm born to be empowered in this world. But more than that is also having this individual purpose. So, you know, Aries is the spark that ignites the fires of pioneering purpose. That's how it can incarnate fire is the element. So we have that, and it's all connected. And here you can see the same mandala we are looking at Aries, and then we have the 17th gene key here. So that also means that by looking at the RAVE mandala, we know what transits are to come, because people sometimes, you know, ask me when I post this the geometry, they're like, okay, what's coming, you know, what's next week? And then we can know the whole year. And we also know that every astrological year that starts on March 20th, that's also when we start with the 25th gene key. So then that kind of becomes part of, and as well as we can feel, you know, the transits, and we can feel the energy of the sun moving through the signs, we can also feel it moving through the gene keys. And like I was saying in another video, that we have been in a lot of emotional gene keys, and now now we're in the mind with the 17th, and it's changing flavor. We're going to be in the ego center next week. And also knowing that these have elements. So going back again to the 17th, we can see that it's lake over thunder. So we have the elements too that we can tune into, and that also has to do a bit with when we look at the chakras and the embodiment, and how we can ground, and how we can balance and temperate through the gene keys. We can use the element and the chakras as well. The chakras we can see in the body graph where we are, and then we can use that. And here with a programming partner, for example, we can play with it. We can see in the body graph, if I look at the standard view again, we can see that we are here in the 17th. It's going to be activated in the it's about thoughts, answers, opinions, insights, ideas, conceptualization. And then the programming partner is the 18th, that is down here, that is about the basic and the well-being, the immune system. So we can also see the programming partners, even in the body, they have a balancing effect. If we're too much up in the head, you know, then we are kind of not grounded. And then the 18th ask us to come back to the root, come back to basics. So always find that temperance in ourselves, and not be, the body graph is here. That's why all the planets together make a combination that is really balanced, and to not over focus anywhere. Although there are some things that are more activated, we can always use the other activations in order to feel more in harmony. So yeah, I feel like that's what I wanted to go through because of those questions. And if you use my body graph, just go to RAVE Mandala, and then you will see exactly how it works. It's also a pretty cool function that you can see how do you get the activation sequence in the gene keys. What is it that makes the form of the profile? Then this is a cool way to see it. So you go to Incarnation Cross, and then the only thing that is going to show is this Incarnation Cross. And then you realize, oh wow, this is the activation sequence. So this is my profile. In my case, I have the 1 and the 2. That is the, you see, it's black, so that's my conscious side, the life's work and the evolution. And then the red is the unconscious side, so that's my radiance and purpose. And that is the 13th is my radiance, and the 7th is my purpose. So the incarnation cross, this is how we see that this is what becomes the hologenetic profile. So it's also the same system. So that's why I say I don't feel like there is any meaning of saying, oh, go with only human design or only the Gene Keys. I feel like both have their perspective, both can add something. And as I usually say as well, the human design is a bit more left-brained, a bit more precise, a bit more masculine. And then the Gene Keys are more poetic, more and more accepting, and more including. It's not so much putting people in under a label like a type, a strategy, or an authority, but more looking at the frequency band. We can be fear, we can be love, we can be contraction, we can be expansion. So it's really like kind of two different sides of the same coin, coin, the feminine way of explaining, the masculine way of explaining. And they're really connected, and especially integral human design, that is also part of the living library. We can really see that the Gene Keys are married to human design through that approach. So let's see if I can go back. Yeah, so I felt this was something that that I was wondering in the beginning, like how does this belong together? Like why is it the same, and how can we see, and where does the activation sequence come from, and why is there one name for the incarnation cross and one for the activation sequence? Just to start to just like decipher those terms and see that it's many times more simple than we think. And if this was unclear, I tend to speak fast and have a lot of ideas. You can ask questions under the video, and I'd love to explain other things as well if I can. So feel free to post and ask. Bye, guys.